Hello students, welcome back. As part of the UPSC mains questions analysis, we have been discussing the 2023 GS1 questions. Okay, yesterday also we have discussed 4 questions, and as part of the series, we will discuss all the UPSC 2023 questions right from GS1 up to GS4. Okay, so now we will discuss another question. This question is with respect to the water crisis the world has been facing, particularly the fresh water crisis. See, everything is linked to climate change. There's no doubt about that. Apart from climate change, anthropogenic factors have also been driving the scarcity of freshwater resources. So, in this respect, the UPSC has also asked a question. So, the question is, why is the world confronted with crisis of availability of and access of freshwater resources? Now, availability of fresh water and accessibility is also important, because even though there is an availability of water, but due to contamination, pollution, the fresh water may not be accessible for the people. In fact, Niti Aayog report has also said that around 40% of India's population has been facing extreme water crisis. So, in this respect, we need to understand what are the factors which have been limiting the access of freshwater resources for the people, and why world has been confronting with the availability and access of freshwater resources. See, before starting this answer, it would be better to start with a data. When you provide data or any facts or any if you quote any report in the introduction, it gives you a good impression rather than writing about climate change, because that is completely unrelated, because nowhere in the question it is asked to write about the climate change, but it is asked to write about water scarcity or the availability or access of freshwater resources. So in these type of questions, it is better to start with any report. Now in this question we start with UNICEF. UNICEF is a United Nations organization. It is also releases reports related to children and vaccine availability, water availability, and how water availability has been a key driving force of poverty. And when people lack access to water resources, they used to women used to fetch water from far away places. It generally impact the education and impact their healthcare. So therefore, UNICEF has released a report on the availability of water resources. So UNICEF report has been saying that around 4 billion people, almost two-thirds of global population. Okay, so 4 billion people is two-thirds of global population, have been facing severe water crisis or severe water scarcity, right? So across the world, around two-thirds of a global population has been facing water scarcity. So this is primarily because of exploitation of existing water resources. Even in India, we use 75 to 80 percentage of our water for agriculture purpose only. So therefore, we have been using water in an unscientific and indiscriminate manner, and that has been leading to inequitable access of water resources. So UNICEF report has been claiming that people have been facing severe water scarcity, two-thirds of our people. So apart from that, over 2 billion people live in countries where water supply is severely inadequate. In fact, if you look at countries in the South Asian region, they are poverty stricken countries. They lack technology, they lack financial means to ensure equitable access to water resources. So if we have access to technology, then we would use water in a more efficient and an effective manner. Okay, so in this context, 2 billion people live in different countries with inadequate supply of water. So when you quote these reports, then your answer would be more impactful. So now there are few factors which have been leading to crisis in availability and access of freshwater resources. So if you look at these factors, the first and foremost factor is climate change. Climate change is not just leading to increasing intensity of cyclones, weather phenomenon, heat waves, and melting of glaciers, but it has also been driving force in water scarcity, creating water scarcity. Rising temperatures have been disrupting the precipitation patterns. Of course, it is true because of sea surface temperatures rise. That is a key force behind El Nino phenomenon. Okay, so you probably know what is El Nino. El Nino is anomalies in the Pacific Ocean temperature, right? So it reverses the usually existing pattern of sea surface temperatures. So that results in a drought-like conditions in Indonesia, India, and the other parts of Southeast Asia and East Asia. So therefore, due to climate change, temperatures have been increasing, and that lead to disruptions in precipitation patterns. We across the globe, we already know about this. And when there's a disruption in precipitation patterns, that usually leads to water scarcity and water related hazards. So what are the water related hazards? Like floods, droughts. So for example, in India itself, in an El Nino year, we generally experience a drought like condition and below normal rainfall. And floods are also very common in India, because we have seen floods in Bengaluru, Chennai, and India's major cities have also experienced floods. It is primarily because of climate change. So what happens, due to floods, we will not be able to use the water effectively, because our existing water storage systems lack a capacity to store enough water. Since we lack the capacity to store enough water, and there's no desludging of our river canals and all, we will not be able to use water efficiently and effectively, and that ultimately leading to water crisis and inadequate water access. The other factor is population growth. This is very important factor. Now, the global population has been heading towards 800 billion, and the population growth is very high in poor, underdeveloped countries in Latin America, Africa, South Asia, Southeast Asia. And these countries have been facing extreme water stress, water crisis. When population has been increasing, we cannot expect that people would use water wisely. Rather, the water needs will increase, and we need to ensure food security for all the people in these countries. And ultimately, since these countries lack technology and financial resources, they more and more depend on unscientific means of irrigation. They just flood their fields with the water. So since they use water in this manner, it results in water scarcity. Even though the water is available, but water is used in this manner, then that would result in severe water crisis. So hence, population growth is also a major factor. Okay, this is also one of the major factor in water access. So water crisis. So apart from that, the economic development needs of different countries. Right now, see, India is a country. This is an emerging economy. So similar to India, there are several other countries also in Africa, Latin America, and in other parts of the world also. So economic development needs force these countries to use excess water. Okay, so for example, there are different industries: the steel industry, aluminum industry, textiles industry. They extensively use water resources, and since they extensively use water resources, and they also lack the the proper recycling mechanism of water. So when they have the recycling facility, they can use the water multiple times. However, since these industries in emerging economies lack the recycling mechanism, What they generally happen is that they release the water into freshwater resources like rivers and canals. So that will ultimately pollute the existing water resources as well. So this usually takes place, in and around Ganga River. Okay, a huge amounts of the polluted water being released from industries into the rivers without treating them. The other major factor is wastewater or water waste. We all know that at the domestic level, uh, we use a lot of water, and just for clothing or any other purposes we use huge amounts of water, and our municipalities lack the capacities to treat the sewage water. So we lack the capacity to treat the sewage water. We generally release the polluted and the contaminated water into the rivers. So see, already fresh water is being contaminated with the untreated water, then that would also be not potable. The fresh water in the rivers will not also be potable, and that will also be polluted. So therefore, wastewater without adequately treating the wastewater would also result in water contamination. Apart from that, inadequate infrastructure has also been a driving force of a crisis in availability and access to fresh water resources. How? Because we lack these sewage water treatment facilities in majority of our municipal areas. So we just release our water into rivers. Not just the sewage water treatment, industries also lack the capacity to recycle the used water. And apart from that, if you look at infrastructure in terms of agriculture, we do not have micro irrigation facilities. Okay, for example, drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, that also requires infrastructure in a large scale. So since we do not lack the required infrastructure and investment, that leads to the failure in proper water management systems. Okay, so it will lead to the inadequate management of existing water resources. Apart from that, a groundwater depletion, groundwater contamination is another major problem. So how groundwater depletion is takes place? Because extraction of water for agriculture purposes, industrial purposes. So India has 17% of global population, but when it comes to water resources, it has only 2% of global water resources. However, if you look at the facts, India is one of the largest groundwater extractor in the world. Okay, so we need to keep this in mind, and groundwater depletion and the groundwater recharge lacking, all the factors have been leading to crisis in availability and access to groundwater. Now we have discussed some of these factors. So when you have asked these type of questions, you should not just left with addressing what is asked. So you should also mention these solutions. So we have discussed these are the factors which are responsible for the availability and access to freshwater resources, and then you need to mention solutions as well. What solutions need to be taken so that water resources can be managed in a more sustainable and efficient manner. So the first and foremost solution given here is improve water management. There's a need to improve our existing water management. How can we improve water management? Yes, so setting up sewage treatment plants with the public and private partnerships, encouraging industries to set up, water recycling and reusing mechanism in their, industries itself, and promoting watershed management in rural areas. And Raleigh City is one such example where they have sustainably turned a drought hit area into a proper agriculture area through this watershed management. So there is a need to improve water management. In fact, Tamil Nadu state government has made rainwater harvesting mandatory for buildings. because Tamil Nadu is a region where it receives rainfall through a reversal period, monsoon reversal period. So it very often faces the problem of water scarcity. The river water dispute between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu is mainly because of water scarcity in Tamil Nadu. Now, rainwater harvesting need to be emphasized, more and more emphasized, and community participation is very important in water resources management. And apart from that, there is a need to promote water conservation among the communities, community participation, particularly water saving practices. When you write these points, it would be advisable to write best models from different state governments. For example, Odisha has started Pani Panchayat. You should write such examples when you write solutions. Apart from Pani Panchayat, Telangana government has also started Mission Bhagiratha. Okay, Mission Bhagiratha and Mission Kakatiya for the conservation of water resources. When you write such best practices in your answer, it would attract the attention of the examiner and you would also score good marks. So apart from that, invest in water infrastructure. This is very, very important. Apart from water management, we should also develop our existing infrastructure to manage water resources. And the other very important intervention, we need to focus on micro irrigation in agriculture sector. So this micro irrigation in agriculture sector is very important, promoting drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation. What happens because of micro irrigation, the extraction of water from the underground would be limited, and we would use the existing water resources in a more efficient and effective manner. So whenever you are writing about problems, not just this question but any question, whenever you are writing problems, it is generally advisable to write solutions also, so that it would give a comprehensiveness to your answer. Now, while in conclusion you just mention about the need for ensuring access to water resources for all, because it is one of the sustainable development goals. Access to water, SDG 6, access to water is one of the sustainable development goals. So you can write the conclusion in a positive and optimistic manner. Okay, so in conclusion you can just write, global water crisis requires a multifaceted approach, or a community participation is required for the effective management of water resources. So you should write in a such a progressive and positive manner, so that your answer looks better. So this is how you need to write answer for this question. To it is about the availability of and accessibility of freshwater resources across the globe. Now, this is the another question which UPSC asked in GS1. So many students find this question is very difficult because only geography optional students know about this zones. Not many students are known about this zones, and this is like optional level question. I mean, not too technical, but many students don't know about this term zones, right? So zones is like a geographical formation formed by the glaciers. Okay, so here in this diagram, you can in this picture you can see how zones usually look like. Okay, this is the example of zones, and they are located in countries like US and Norway, and they are one of the most attractive tourist destinations because of their picturesqueness and their frugality also, right? So this is the jode. The question is, how are jodes formed? Why do they constitute some of the most picturesque areas in the world? Okay, this is the question. Now, in this in this particular question, there are two parts. The first part is, how are jodes formed? You need to explain this, and even if you draw a diagram, that would give you extra marks in your answer, for your answer. if you are able to draw a diagram, or if you are able to draw a world map and show where are these jords are located, then also you would get extra 1 or 2 marks. Okay, extra 1 or 2 marks. Most probably you would get extra 1 marks. But since many students don't know about jords, they may not be able to attempt this question in a proper way. So as I have said, this question has two parts. The first part is about how jodes are formed. You need to first explain what is jode, and then how jodes are formed, and why these jodes form one of the most picturesque areas in the world. Okay, so this question has two parts. Now, when you are writing each part, it would be better if you have have a proper side heading and keep it in a box. Keep it in a box. How jodes are formed, and then you should keep it in a box and then continue writing. So, jode is a long, deep, narrow body of water that reaches far inland. Okay, so you here you can see a jode is a long, a deep, narrow water body. Okay, that flows in between the mountains. This is actually the jode formation, and jodes are often set in a U-shaped valley with a steep walls of rock on either side. So you can see a steep walls of rock on either side, and they flow in a U-shaped valleys. Here you can see U-shaped valleys. Now I would like to tell you uh, the formation of U-shaped valleys is another feature of Himalayan rivers. Okay, so they also form V-shaped valleys and U-shaped valleys, right? So in a similar way, jodes often set in a U-shaped valley with steep walls of rock on either side of. So either side of jodes. Okay, just they flow in this, uh, you know, between mountains. And jodes mainly found in, as I have already told you, where jodes are found. Jodes usually form in Norway, Chile, New Zealand, Canada, Greenland, USA, and state of Alaska. So in these countries, jodes are usually formed. So one of the best example of jodes you can give, Sone jode. This jode is located in Norway, and it is a more than 160 kilometers long. So overall length of this jode, this zone jode, is around 160 kilometers long. Okay. So after that, as I have already told you, jodes are created by glaciers. So there are different landform types. For example, of landforms formed by winds, landforms formed by water, and landforms even formed by glaciers also. So here, zones were created by glaciers. Here you can see the glaciation on the mountains. So in a similar way, these zones are formed by glaciers. So during Earth's ice age, once we have the ice age on planet Earth. So during ice age, glaciers covered just about everything. So everything on the planet is covered by these glaciers. So glaciers move very slowly. So they're not rapid in nature. They move very slowly over a period of time, and they can greatly alter the landscape. So for example, this is the landscape, and this is a glacier movement. So once a glacier passes through a particular land area, so then this landscape will be altered greatly by these glaciers, and this overall process is called as glaciation process. Now, some of the major features of these fjords include formation of coral reefs, rocky islands, and these rocky islands are called as skerries. Okay, so these are the major features of fjords. Because of formation of rocky islands and coral reefs, they form one of the most picturesque regions in the world. Okay, so these are also called as skerries. Now, some of the largest coral reefs are found at the bottom of fjords in Norway. We already discussed that jords are formed in Norway. Now, some of the largest coral reefs are also located in the jords in Norway. Uh, We already know that. Please remember, the largest coral reef formation is located in Australia. Okay, the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. So apart from that, some of the greatest coral reefs are the largest coral reefs are also formed in these fjords, and they are located in Norway. So they are home to several types of fish, plankton, and sea anemones. Some coral reefs are also found in New Zealand. So since they form coral reefs and rocky islands, so they usually host a large number of tourists in those places, and ecologically also they are fragile, because we know that whenever a particular region hosts coral reefs, they are home to a huge diversity number of species. UPSC has also asked this question in 2018. Okay, in 2018 about whether tropical regions are diverse, host the large number of species, or coral reefs host the large number of species. So here you have to understand this. Now, this is the second part of the question. First part is about jodes and why they are, how the jodes are usually formed, and the second part of the question is about why jodes are most picturesque areas of the world. You need to write about this. So, because of these factors, geological features, waterfalls, unique biodiversity, pristine and remote location, cultural heterogeneity, these jodes form some of the most picturesque regions around the world. Okay. Now, the first and foremost factor is geological features. So it has a unique landscape, and this unique landscape is characterized by steep, towering cliffs either side with a deep, narrow waterways in between. Okay, so please understand, we have seen how a jode look like. Okay, this is the jode formation. Okay, so water just move through this area. Okay, so a steep walls on either side with the cliffs, and cliffs on either side, and in this deep valley region a narrow waterway goes through. So this geological feature offers some of the most picturesque areas of the world. Secondly, formation of waterfalls in the fjords. So they are also home to many waterfalls. These waterfalls are created by streams and rivers flowing through the fjords. And we also have an example. For example, the Seven Sisters waterfall in the Gearanch Fort. Okay, so a bit difficult name, but please remember this is Gearanch Fort. It is located in Norway. Apart from that, it also hosts unique biodiversity. So we have discussed that Jodes have, these uh, uh, coral reefs, and the coral reefs are known for biodiversity. Coral reefs are known for biodiversity. So hence, these Jodes host a unique biodiversity. For example, Milford Sound in Fordland National Park is renowned for thriving marine life, including dolphins and penguins. And the fourth is a pristine and remote location. So see, these jodes are formed, not formed in any place. So they are formed in a remote location or in a pristine area with a minimal human intervention or human contact, and this will further add to this picturesque appeal. Okay, so for example, in Himalayan regions also some geographical formation happens, takes place, but not jodes. Okay, so this pristine location, pristine and remote location further add to its picturesqueness. This Milford Sound Sword in New Zealand we also earlier discussed as an example. Okay, so when it comes to unique biodiversity, so it non-officially it has been called as eighth wonder of the world. This Milford Sound Jode is called as eighth wonder of the world. So you can imagine the picturesque, the fragileness of these jodes. So lastly, the cultural heritage. This particular Songne Jode in Norway is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So it has a cultural heritage and pristine and remote location, biodiversity, its geological features and waterfalls together constitute a most picturesque areas of the world. Now, when you concluding this answer, you just have to conclude by giving the significance, overall significance of jutes in terms of promoting tourism, and you should also emphasize on the need to protect these jutes from excessive anthropogenic intervention or unregulated tourism. So that's how you need to end the answer. So for any answer, what you need to do is divide this answer into multiple parts as given in the question and structure it as per the demand of the question. Then you will get good marks. So the next question is with respect to India's monsoon. Okay, this is also part of geography. Okay, this is about the southwest monsoon. Southwest monsoon in the sense that the question has not asked completely about the southwest monsoon. Rather, they have asked about the southwest monsoon, which is striking the Bhojpuri region. The Bhojpuri region is located, we know that Bhojpuri region is located in eastern UP and western Bihar. Okay, so this is the area where the Bhojpuri is located. Okay, so hence in Bhojpuri region, why the southwest monsoon is called as Purvayas, otherwise easterly streams, and why it is called as Purvayas. And second part of this question is how this directional seasonal wind systems influenced cultural ethos of the region. So this is one of the most favorite aspect of UPSC. UPSC generally asks about monsoon, Indian monsoon, and UPSC also link Indian monsoon with the culture and the economy of entire Indian subcontinent or in general and India in particular. So now this question is not generic in nature, it is very particular. You need to write two parts. First part is about why the southwest monsoon is known as easterly in the Bhojpur region, and the other part of the question is how this Purvayas would impact the socio-cultural life of the people who are living in the Bhojpuri region. Okay, so how you introduce this question? So you have to introduce this question by writing what is southwest monsoon, what is southwest monsoon, and how it plays a very significant role in Bhojpur region. The monsoon in Bhojpur region is very significant climatic phenomenon, right? So the question is about the southwest monsoon and its impact on the Bhojpuri region. So you can introduce this question in this way: monsoon in the Bhojpur region is a significant climatic phenomenon. Why it is a significant climatic phenomenon? Because it usually plays a very crucial role in both shaping natural environment and cultural ethos of people in the region. Okay? As question itself said that the southwest monsoons in the Bhojpuri region are called as Purvaya. Purvaya. So we need to understand why the southwest monsoon is called as Purvayas in this region. Okay. Now see, we need to understand the mechanism of southwest monsoon. In this question also you have to draw a map. This is compulsory because if you draw a map, so that significantly increases your marks. Okay, so this is the Bhojpuri region. Bhojpuri region. Now the southwest monsoon usually travel in this direction and hit the coast of Kerala. So when they hit the coast of Kerala, it usually separates into two branches. One is Arabian Sea branch, the other branch is Bay of Bengal branch. Right? So the Bay of Bengal branch hit the Bhojpuri region from this eastern side. Since the southwest monsoon separation into Arabian branch and Bay of Bengal branch, and this Bay of Bengal branch hitting the Bhojpuri region from eastern side, so it is known as Purvias, okay, or easterly in the Bhojpuri region, because the Arabian Sea branch is not reaching or not hitting the Bhojpuri region. Rather, the Bay of Bengal branch is hitting the Bhojpuri region. So, because of this rationale, they called as Purvias. Now, this is explained in this, the later context. So, geographical location. Firstly, Bhojpuri region is situated in eastern India. Okay, so this is eastern India, and Bhojpuri region is located in eastern India, and this Bhojpuri region is near the foothills of Himalayas. It is located at the foothills of Himalayas. So this geographical location usually plays a very important role in making the monsoon reach to the Bhojpuri region from the eastern side. So hence geographical location of the Bhojpuri region plays a very important role. Secondly, the direction of wind flow. So this mechanism we already discussed, we already understood. So during monsoon season, what generally happens is the prevailing winds. These winds are called as the prevailing winds, existing winds. So they blow from southwest. Okay. So they blow from the southwest, and when they blow from the southwest, they generally bring the moisture laden air from the Arabian Sea and Indian Ocean, as they usually bring the moisture or the air laden wind from the Arabian Sea and also Indian Ocean. So from the perspective of the Bhojpuri region, these winds appear to be coming from east. Even though they are southwest monsoons and they are blowing from the southwest region, because of its geographical location, they appear to blow from eastern region. Because of this specific reason, these southwest monsoon are called as Purvias or easterlies in the Bhojpuri region, and this is the second reason. And what is the third reason? Third reason is local terminology. The people of Bhojpur have historically referred southwest monsoon as Purvias. They have locally called the southwest monsoon as Purvias. See, southwest monsoon in different states have different names. For example, in Andhra Pradesh, they call it as Iruvaka. So, in a similar way, different states have a different names based on the cultural significance of the southwest monsoon. In the similar way, so these winds are called as Purvias, so which translates into easterly in English. In English, they are called as easterlies. So this local terminology reflects region's unique perspective on monsoon winds. So these the people who are living in those areas, and they calling it as Purvias reflects a unique perspective on monsoon winds, right? So this is the first part of the answer. Now when you write the first part of the answer, then you need to discuss the second part of the answer. So what is the second part of the answer? How the Puravias influence the culture, okay, the cultural ethos of the Bhojpuri region. So you need to write a proper side heading. Okay, you need to write a proper side heading and just keep it in a box, so that the examiner can clearly see that you have written all the parts, or you have addressed all the parts of the question, right? So firstly, when it comes to the cultural significance, monsoon has been intricately linked with Indian agriculture. So this is very very important, because that is when sowing usually start in different parts across the country. I think even in the subcontinent also, Indian subcontinent, all the parts. So hence, because of this reason, Indian monsoon has a huge significance. Firstly, when it comes to agriculture and festivals, agriculture in Bhojpuri, similar to other parts, is heavily dependent on Indian monsoon rains, particularly Puraviyas. And secondly, arrival of Puravia is celebrated as a crucial event and making it start of the planting season. Right? So it makes the start of the planting season or the sowing season in the Bhojpuri region. Now, apart from that, there are also festivals they celebrate like Teej, Raksha Bandhan. So these festivals are also increasingly associated with the Puraviyas. So hence, Puraviyas are an integral part of the cultural life of the people who are living in the Bhojpuri region. So, right? So this is the first major cultural influence of Puraviyas on Bhojpuri region. See how the answer is properly structured here. You just when you write points, that would be different when you structure your answer in this way. So in this way, you will get more marks in your for your answer. Secondly, the traditional practices. How Puraviyas influence the traditional practices of people who are living in those areas. For example, the traditional farming practices, they are very famous in the Bhojpuri region. Dahi chura, that is curd and flattened rice. So they are consumed during the monsoon season. Okay, so these dahi chura, that was a traditional farming festival, or the traditional farming method. Sorry, I think traditional farming methods are associated with the Purviyas, and also some traditions like dahi chura, curd and flattened rice. So they are also consumed during the monsoon. So they are believed to provide strength and vitality to withstand rains. Okay, so to withstand rains, uh, you know, uh, they are generally provide with the strength and vitality. So people usually believe this. Thirdly, social interactions. So the monsoon often limits the outdoor activities. This is very common point. Okay, so whenever there's a intense monsoon, it generally limit the outdoor activities. When it limits the outdoor activities, there is a possibility that within the family, the interactions, the social interactions will improve, and that is also very important. The social interactions within the family, the understanding among the and strengthening the relations would further improve, and this will also foster a sense of community and togetherness. And whenever you are writing answer, it would be better if you write these words in your answer, so that it would further enrich and add value to your answer. So fourth, economic activities. uh, I have already discussed that Indian monsoon is intricately linked with Indian agriculture and then economy. Even monetary policy of RBI is also dependent on Indian monsoon. So therefore, Indian monsoon has also a huge impact on Indian economy and economic activities. Beyond agriculture, so monsoon also impact activities like animal husbandry and traditional crafts. So they are deeply ingrained in the culture of Bhojpur and Bhojpuri region. So this is how you need to structure your answer, and you need to write these points. So apart from this, it would be better if you write some examples like local festivals, local traditions, along with these points. So they would further enhance your answer. And apart from this, you have to compulsorily draw a diagram. Okay, so Indian diagram, and locate the Bhojpuri area, and how the in this Bhojpuri region, how the monsoon winds have been reaching. So that is very important and necessary also, and that increases your marks. So finally, you need to conclude this answer with explaining the significance of Indian monsoon, overall Indian monsoon, how it is significant, how it has been providing the food security, livelihood security for the people, and how it has a large impact and influence on the cultural ethos of the people. Okay, so you have to conclude the answer in a much positive note. Okay, in a positive note, right? So we will look at the next question. So next question is also very important. So this question is about marriage, Indian marriage system. So why this question is important? Because marriage as an institution has been undergoing various changes in the sense that we recently we have seen that Supreme Court has decriminalized live-in relationships. To live in relationships, that means a same-sex relationships, and Supreme Court has also decriminalized adultery. Section 497, Section 377. Section 377 is related to decriminalization of same-sex relationships. Even though same-sex marriages were not yet legal, okay, not yet legal. However, Supreme Court has decriminalized adultery because in the opinion that uh, uh, woman is considered as an asset or the commodity of a husband when it comes to section 497. So apart from that, there were demands from the people to legalize the same sex marriage, and due to globalization, urbanization, there has been increasing marriage age of people. So all these factors and even individualism is a very I mean individualism has a huge influence on the people, that they don't want to marry, and they want to live a single life or individual life. So in this context, the question is about, do you think marriage as a sacrament is losing its value in modern India? So you have to give your judgment on this question. So first you need to write, so what is marriage? You need to define what is marriage. And after defining what is marriage, you have to explain, uh, you have to write, is marriage as a sacrament losing its value in modern India? If it actually losing its sacrament, you need to prove it with the relevant examples. And first you need to write those points, and then still marriage plays a very significant role in Indian cultural ethos and the family system. How marriage is a foundation of Indian family system and culture. So you need to write both the sides. You just write marriage as a sacrament and losing its value, and then conclude. That's not enough. You have to write two sides in the answer. So as I have explained that, first you need to define marriage. Okay, first you need to define what is marriage, and after defining marriage, the first part of the answer is that yes, marriage as a sacrament is losing its value, and you need to provide some arguments in favor of this. So after providing your arguments in favor of this, how marriage is still how marriage is still a very important institution, very important social institutions. So you need to write this part, and then finally write a balanced conclusion. Okay, balanced conclusion, right? Maintaining the sanctity of the marriage, and at the same time respecting the rights of individuals. So this is how you need to structure your answer, right? Now, firstly, you write introduction for this question. So how introduction should be? In modern times, the notion of marriage as a sacred institution is encountering a shifting perspectives, right? So it has been encountering shifting perspectives. That is true. We have understood how it has been shifting its perspectives. For example, rapid globalization, urbanization, and shifting social dynamics. Social dynamics means people are increasingly aware about their rights. For example, Indian Constitution itself has provided a wide variety of rights, and in fact, Article 21 scope has been constantly widening over a period of time. The right to information, right to marry as per one's choice. So these rights have been constantly adding. So therefore, these social dynamics have also adding to the shifting perspectives on Indian marriage system. So therefore, these factors have challenged the sanctity of marriage as a social institution, as a sacred social institution. But if you look at the major features of Indian marriage system, first we need to understand the major features of Indian marriage systems. So what are the major features? So in Western cultures, we generally observe that marriage is a contract between two individuals. So whenever they want, they can divorce. After divorce, they can marry. Another spouse, the another individual. But on the other hand, in India, marriage has a huge religious and cultural significance. It is not just a contract between two individuals, but it is rather considered as a religious and sacred union between two individuals and groom. In your individual cultures also, marriage has a lot of importance in the life of people. So therefore, it is in India, it is considered as a religious and sacred union between bride and groom, which is actually done through the religious ceremonies and rites. Now there are extensive religious ceremonies and rites when a marriage is doing performed between two individuals. So therefore it has a huge significance in the Indian context. So apart from that, it is considered as a union between two families, not just two individuals. So a union between two individuals is extremely individualistic in nature. However, in India, a marriage is considered as a union between two families, but not two individuals. Now, thirdly, a permanent or eternal union among two individuals. You know, eternal union means, even in your next life also, uh, the spouse is same, something like that. So marriage has such a huge significance. So a permanent and an eternal union between husband and wife. Now we need to address the first part of the answer. So what is the first part of the answer? That is marriage uh, is losing its sacramental value. How marriage has been losing its sacramental value? We need to write points in favor of this argument. Firstly, there has been an increasing separation and divorce rates among the husband and wife because of the globalization and the rise of nuclear families and the individual aspirations among the people. There has been an increasing separation and divorce rates among the couple. And particularly, there has been an increasing awareness about women's rights and economic independence of the woman. After globalization, the literacy rates among women have increased, the working opportunities also increased. So, therefore, economic independence of women, the modern marriage system is no longer strictly sacrosanct. Okay, so it is no longer strictly sacrosanct. So, one example is also provided. The example is rising instances of divorces in India. You just have to mention such examples in your answer. Secondly, changing purpose of the marriage. So the marriage purpose has been changing because more and more people now want to marry because of companionship, emotional support, and mutual understanding among these individuals. So when the marriage is linked to the companionship and emotional support, there's a less probability that the marriage is not between the families, but it is between the individuals. Okay, two individuals. So that is a mostly close to the Western concept of marriage. And the modern day alternatives. Now, if not married, there are several modern day alternatives are available. For example, live-in partnership is one such example. Okay, live-in partnerships is one such example where a modern culture, traditional marriage is now considered as loss of privacy and lack of individual growth. How lack of loss of privacy? Because marriage has become a social institution. Marriage has become a social institution. So when it is considered as a union between two families, it is no longer considered as they consider it as loss to their privacy, so loss of their private space. So because of these modern alternatives like live-in partnerships, marriage as a sacrament value of marriage has been losing. So, thirdly, decline in religious significance of the marriage. Okay, because people, instead of favoring rites and rituals, they are doing court marriages. The religious significance has also been increasingly diminishing because of increasing awareness among the people that there's no need for the such rituals and rites. To some extent, it has also resulted in decline in religious significance of marriage. And next, increase in the age of marriage. So there has been demands to increase the marriage age of women from 18 years to 21 years. 18 years to 21 years. In fact, the committee which recommended increase in marriage age of women is Jaya Jaitli committee. Okay, just remember this Jaya Jaitli committee has recommended to increase marriageable age of women, so that it would indirectly promote the women empowerment and women health. Okay, women empowerment and women health. So therefore demands like increasing marriages, and in fact in the society itself still child marriages are prevalent, but there has been an increase in the marriage age of both men and women also. And to a major extent this has also resulted in some individuals not to preferring not to marry. And apart from that, there's a desirability of marriage. Now the desirability of marriage is slightly declining, so people preferring not to marry. For example, people can have premarital sex, and now adultery has also been made decriminalizing act, premarital sex. And two adult consenting individuals can have a premarital sex. Now it is no longer considered as a taboo, and a single parenting concept has also been gaining prominence. So because of all these reasons, marriage as a sacrament losing its value. However, marriage is still sacrament in Indian society due to the following reasons. Following reasons, we cannot say that the marriage's value has been completely diluted. No, this is not true. But since a marriage is still sacrament in Indian society, how? Because it is the base of the family. Now, marriage is seen as the institution through which families come together. Okay, because it is a union between family, and still marriage is a fundamental building block of Indian culture. Right. So this is still a fundamental building block of Indian culture. And secondly, there's a continuity of lineage. Many people see marriage as a tradition which continues their lineage. Okay, so they continues the family's traditions and the family. So hence still marriage is relevant in Indian society. Thirdly, religious significance. Marriage has a huge religious significance across different religions. Okay, but for example in Hindu, marriage customs and rituals are associated while performing marriage. So therefore, since it has a huge spiritual significance, uh, the marriage is still relevant in the Indian context. However, diluting the marriage would not be acceptable, or something which we accept, or but it is important that we need to protect the institution, the social institution of marriage, and at the same time we need to respect the rights of the people. There should be a healthy balance between these two things. So this is how we need to conclude. The conclusion has to be balanced, and it has to be optimistic and positive, right? So it will give you a good marks for your answer, right? So in this session we have discussed a few questions which are given in GS1 paper, GS1 of UPSC mains examination, and over a period of time we will discuss all these questions. Okay, so please watch this class, because you get to know what type of a questions UPSC has been asking and how we can structure the answer, because it will give you important insights. Okay, so